So I think we're ready, Dylan, if you want to kick off. And
Okay.
then, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Jess. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar this afternoon, I presume, given most of you are probably in Ireland and Europe. So, yeah, thanks for joining today. Um, my name is Dylan Terry. I'm the studio director at Hatch Blue. So my role at Hatch Blue is to run our innovation studios and other early stage entrepreneur support systems at Hatch Blue. Those of you who maybe don't know, Hatch Blue we're a global firm, and we're focused on developing sustainable aquaculture, alternative seafood, and also recently now exploring blue carbon and some of the opportunities there. Um, we are split across four different business units from investments, consulting, programs, and also the fish site. We'll go into a little bit more detail about that later. So before going into the presentation, I'll pause and maybe introduce Jess first to say hello.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am the community manager for Ireland. So I work with Hatch Blue, and I'm so excited today to have Dana and Sarah with us, who both joined us on last year's studio, and they have some fantastic updates. I just can't wait. I'm just so excited for both of you. So Sarah she is the CEO and co-founder of Restore Blue. You're not working for anyone, you work for yourself. You want to say a few words, Sarah?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Jess and Dylan, for the invite to talk this morning. Yeah, I was thrilled to be accepted on the Innovation Studio last year, and I was partaking because I founded Restore Blue that was still in its quite early stages, and we still are. So I've been full-time on Restore Blue the last few years and excited to talk a little bit more about what we do and what we've been up to over the last few months when we get going.
Yay! And then we also have Dannel Basic with Basic? No, Basic. That's how we pronounce that. With us from Teal Marine Technologies. Hi, Dannel.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, thanks for having me. I was in the last year's crowd as well, which was fantastic. Yeah, I'm founder of Teal Marine Technologies, making all kinds of on the water, underwater, and yeah, marine technologies, unmanned boats, underwater robotics, underwater monitoring, all around that exciting stuff and engineering. Yeah, super happy to be here and talk about all that later.
Yeah, and Dannel will give us a brief overview over the workshop he's sitting in. So we're very excited with that. All right, Dylan, over to you.
Cool. Yeah, thank you guys, and appreciate both of you joining. I know you're very busy early stage founders and taking time out of your day to come and chat with us today. So thank you, much appreciated. Um, I'm going to jump into a few slides just to give a quick overview of the program before we hear from Daniel and Sarah. So just give me a second. Okay. You can all see my screen, I hope, at this stage. Jess is nodding at me, so I'll get going. Um, okay, so today we're here to talk about the Hatch Blue and BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio. We've been running this program for 7 years now with BIM. It's changed over time, and this year we're changing up the structure a little bit, which we'll tell you about soon. But I guess the core information is this year we're running it from the 13th to the 18th of October, and we're delighted to be hosting it in Galway this year. We're running it at Portershed Galway, which is a really kind of I think it's a perfect space to run a program like this. So we're very excited to be in Portershed, Galway, and to be running this program again with our partners at BIM. Um, so let's start off with the kind of like the bigger picture, the ambition here. Um, so As I mentioned before, Hatch Blue, we are focused on developing, investing in, and supporting the sustainable aquaculture industry. The aquaculture is I think it's the fastest growing food sector. However, in Ireland, our primary production or our actual output of aquaculture is relatively quite small when you compare it to other countries. However, with BIM, they've been very strategic in going after this Aquatech um, industry, which is technology and solutions that can be applied to global aquaculture. So that kind of is the big ambition of this work with BIM is to find and develop those Irish technology companies that can go and serve this growing and large aquaculture industry. Um, and with the Department of Agriculture and some of those larger kind of long-term strategy and goals, we at Hatch Blue are very excited to be supporting them towards those kind of like bigger vision and goals. And as my role at Hatch Blue as studio director, I spend a lot of time in these markets, seeing the opportunity, and it really is an exciting, growing, big market that we're very excited to help Irish companies to kind of tap into and take advantage of some of those opportunities. Um, so yeah, that's our big ambition here. And later on, we'll talk about maybe some of those success stories of some of those Irish companies that are doing that successfully. Um, okay, so kind of nuts and bolts. What is the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio? Um, so the studio, and you'll hear about Sarah and Daniel's experience on the studio later on, and they'll probably best tell you what they learned and maybe what they got from the studio. But we see it as three core things: is to develop, validate, and to learn. Um, I think what makes the Hatch Blue Innovation Studio different than other startup support systems or other accelerators is what we bring is very niche focus around a specific industry and a specific sector, and we look to leverage that niche knowledge and network to support early stage companies who are exploring this industry. Um, most companies who join the innovation studio are typically quite early stage companies who are trying to understand and validate if their technology, if their value proposition has relevance in this market. And we at Hatch Blue can help you on that journey and hopefully can help you accelerate that journey to understanding what the opportunities are, what the opportunities aren't, and who you need to be talking to. We leverage a lot of the internal Hatch expertise to do that. We've got the Hatch Blue consulting team who will come in and do kind of deep sessions around where the market is, what the trends are. We'll also bring in the Hatch Blue investing team who will come in and tell you what it means to be investor ready in the space and what an investor needs to see in the space to go and maybe raise some of that capital. Um, and effectively, we just want to help early stage companies learn and take something away from the program, and hopefully Daniel and Sarah will maybe talk to some of those learnings in a little bit. Um, okay, I will keep moving. So yeah, as I mentioned previously, we've been running this program for 7 years now, and some like just really proud, I think, at Hatch Blue to talk about some of these numbers. So we've worked with 58 companies over the years. We've brought in over 100 different international and local experts from the industry and elsewhere to accelerate these companies' journey. Um, we're looking at over 200 jobs created by alumni companies within Ireland, which we're very proud of. And uh, over 300,000 average follow-on funding after program completion. Um, and one thing I'll touch on this also later, but we're very proud that the Irish Strategic Investment Fund has also invested 15 million in one of Hatch's funds, specifically focused on deploying, that capital in Irish Aquatech companies. So we're very excited that at that level within the Irish Strategic Investment Fund that they're backing this and they see the opportunity here. And that's one of the real value adds of a company joining this program is our Hatch Blue investment team has, specifically our Blue Revolution Fund has money to deploy and money to deploy in Ireland. So, that those relationships are there, and we're excited to make those introductions. Um, so a little bit more detail on who specifically we're looking for. So primarily we're focused on Irish, and also we have space for a couple of EU companies who maybe see an opportunity in Ireland, or maybe Ireland makes sense as a place for them to expand and develop in. But primarily we're looking for Irish companies. Um, we're looking for I guess when I think about the stage of companies we're looking for, I see two different stages. So primarily we see early stage companies in here that are developing a piece of technology that they think has applications in the aquaculture or marine space, and we can help them learn and validate and see if and accelerate that journey really. But we've also worked with like a number of later stage companies that are already in a market, have significant revenue, but maybe are just starting to explore the opportunities within aquaculture. Um, so, so I would also just want to put that out there. If there's any companies on the call, who are maybe not in this space but have a technology that's being applied to another space, we'd love to speak with you, and we'd love to see if we can help you explore some of the opportunities within the markets that we understand, like aquaculture, because we do think there's significant opportunity there for those Irish companies that maybe are serving. Agriculture, or some of these adjacent industries, and we can apply that technology in aquaculture or the marine space. um, Ideally, we want at least proof of concept, minimal viable products, so nothing like too early, like we don't want just ideas, we want a little bit of traction, because that's where we think we can help you when you have something to show, and we can help you then kind of take that next step of going to market and validating whether there is a demand for that product that you've developed. Um, okay, and a little bit more detail now around maybe some of those specific focus areas. There's a lot of text here, so I'm not going to go into all of this. Um, but this is some of the areas within aquaculture and some of maybe the technology areas that we at Hatch Blue are very excited about, and we're actively looking for solutions in. So, ingredients and nutrition, really important, important space in aquaculture, specifically around the feed and alternative proteins. And at Hatch Blue, we've made a number of investments in that space. Um, the area of marine biotech, a lot of exciting technology coming out of research in that space at the moment, especially as you think about kind of like AI and the crossover then into health and genetics. A huge opportunity for Irish companies in that space. The marine space and water is still quite unknown. There's a lot we still need to learn and understand about what's happening in our waters and in our aquaculture ecosystems, and some of that technology is already starting to show huge potential. Um, Alternative seafood, so cell-based seafoods, we've made some investments in the space, super exciting area. Um, Blue carbon as well. I've been working on a number of blue carbon related projects recently within Hatch Blue. A huge amount of interest, investment going into that space now. So another area that we'd love to see some applications in. Um, yeah, supply chain, super important. How do you get, the end product to the customers? And then also, farm hardware, software. I think, Dannel and Sarah are great examples of some of that, like exciting software and hardware solutions that are coming out of Ireland. And I think it's something that Ireland has typically been quite strong in historically. So we've got a lot of knowledge in this space, and a lot of companies we work with are software hardware companies coming out of Ireland. So yeah, that's another kind of really important area for us. Um, yeah, just to touch on as well. I mentioned this earlier, but Hatch Blue Consulting is a business unit within Hatch. They are probably one of the world's leading aquaculture specialty consulting firms. They work with some of the largest players in the industry. Um, and they bring just deep knowledge and expertise to what we do. And they'll be a part of our program this year, and have been in previous years, where we bring them in and let them work to the group and give us knowledge and data, but also work specifically with companies for introductions and some specific some specific knowledge. Um, okay, moving on. Okay. So, why should you join the BIM and Hatch Blue Innovation Studio? Um, so, you know, I think one of the first things is you get um, that that time and space to spend with both Hatch Blue and BIM. BIM are doing some amazing work around Aquatech in Ireland and have big plans and big ambitions, and you'll get to, be in a room with them, spend time with them, see how they can help you on your business and help you develop. I also think, spending time, if you're exploring this industry or want to explore this industry, Hatch Blue brings that global knowledge, that global network. We've already invested in 70 companies in the space. We've, run over 15 innovation studios now across the world, and we really know what it means to build and scale a startup in this space. Um, some more details. So this is going to be limited to 10 participants. It's a 2-week program this year. We've changed up the structure where it's going to be um, online sessions in the first week, followed by a 1-week in-person session in Galway, or 6-day, Monday to Saturday, in-person intensive workshop in Galway. Um, you get, full access to our knowledge, our networks. There's no cost to join. We don't take any equity either. So you just have to get yourself to Galway, and we'll be there to support you. Um, and then, yeah, we focus a lot on getting investor ready and how you present yourself to the industry. Um, and lastly, just on investment opportunities, I touched on this earlier, but the Hatch Blue Investment Fund, the Blue Revolution Fund, is actively looking for deal flow and for companies within Ireland. And with the support of the Irish Strategic Investment Fund, there is investment money there, and we're looking for really high potential, innovative companies that we can invest in and we can support. Okay. I'm not going to go into the testimonials because we've got Sarah and Dannel with us on the call, so they'll be able to tell you themselves. So yeah, just I guess to close up, application deadline is the 18th of July. So if you're thinking about applying, please, I would say get on it as soon as possible, because as applications come in now, we'll start to review them right away. And the earlier you can speak to us and maybe chat to us, and the better. Um, so yeah, I think there's a lot of value to be got from this program. There's no cost, there's no equity. I see it as a free mini aquaculture MBA, is like how I describe it to people sometimes. So like it's a great opportunity. This is a growing market. There's huge opportunity out there in this market, and uh, we want to help companies understand that market and accelerate their journey. Um, so yeah, if you're thinking about applying, um, uh, let's get to it, and we're excited to kind of meet some of you, and get to know some of these innovators coming out of Ireland. I think that's let me, before I finish up, I just want to talk a little bit more about BIM. I touched on them earlier and some of the value that they bring to the program. I think it's really nice that Hatch Blue and BIM partner on this program. Um, Hatch Blue are a global firm, and we bring that kind of like global network and knowledge. But BIM it's I work see a lot of governments around the world, and as an Irish person, very proud to see the work that the Irish government and BIM are doing, and the investment and the team they're building with Damien, Catherine, and others to really just focus on developing the aquatech industry in Ireland. I think we're very lucky as Irish people to have that support. Um, and you can see by some of the numbers here. Um, they're doing great work, and we're very lucky to partner with BIM, and they're a big part of this program, and getting kind of access and closer to BIM, and they work very closely with some companies in Ireland to give that extra support, funding, guidance to really develop this aquatech industry. So yeah, that's it. I guess I will stop there. I think that was about maybe a little bit over time, Jess, but
You're right, you're
yeah,
right.
I will I will stop there. So yeah, over to you, Jess.
Thanks so much, Dylan. I should mention if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat. We will get around to them. We will, monitor the chat. And I think there is going to be a few questions for you, Dylan. So be prepared. Don't just, walk away. I'm sure there is a lot of, questions about like how do you do the assessment process and all of that. But we'll get around to that later. So now we get to talk to Sarah and Dannel. I should mention, to me, this is such a joy. I keep flying the Irish flag because there are so many great people in Ireland, right? What we have going for us in general, and I include myself here, is the entrepreneurial spirit and understanding that there are challenges and seeing that we have tools and opportunities to address the challenges, and then really get into the nitty-gritty of it and saying, I'm going to run with this idea. Now, when I met Sarah, I met her and I said, I love her. And that is basically like you opened up my mind in terms of nature inclusive design and what that means and the opportunities in that space. So, talk to us about Restore Blue, talk to us about where the idea came from, and just introduce Restore Blue to us.
Thanks, Jess. Well, first off, the love has returned. It was a pleasure to meet you too. We've connected since. So, I came from an academic background in marine ecology, and then I transitioned after time in the US to the offshore planning consultancy, private sector. And it was during that time working with developers, I seen there was a real gap in terms of a service support around nature inclusive design for the offshore development space. And what that means is any technologies or practices that we can integrate into the offshore planning process and during operational stages, even decommissioning stages of a development, that can make the site more sustainable. It can help enhance biodiversity, mitigate it against some of the potential impacts of these developments. And it seemed to be an area that was very much an unknown with the developers. It wasn't the biggest and still isn't the biggest fire that they have to fight, trying to get planning to get these projects into operation, but a very important one. And we're seeing biodiversity at the top of many global and EU agendas. So I guess I've seen a gap there to offer planning support that would have a focus on our marine ecosystem. So I conceptualized Restore Blue, and the goal of what we do in essence is to support offshore developers in their nature inclusive design planning. So we have design planning software, which we're piloting next month. It's been a long time in the works. And in the planning software, we work with three core data sets. So one is our proprietary nature inclusive design database. That's something we've been working on for the last few years. And it's a global database that we have established through partnerships with those that are creating and supplying nature inclusive design technology. So from Australia, North America, all across Europe, Scandinavia, we have developed these partnerships to collect as much information about these technologies, what they do for the environment, how they can assist with offshore development, and practical information around them for the developer. So quite an extensive effort. So we have over 200 NID solutions now on our database, and 140 partnerships. And then the second core data set we work with is policy and legislation related to offshore planning and nature inclusivity on a country level and also an EU level and global scale. So we've built those data libraries, and that corresponds with our nature inclusive design database. So when someone is looking for a solution, if a solution is seen viable for a potential site, and that's what our planning software does, it helps identify a potential solution. It then looks beyond the policy and legislation and says, well, how well does this solution actually align with the legislation policy on a country level? And then the third data type that we work with is spatial data. And that's looking at local species data, commercially important, invasive species, protected species data, and to bring that decision making to another level, and say, okay, we've identified a solution that aligns with local policy, but how does it give back to commercially important species? How does it help with the protected species status in the area? So that's what our planning software does. And we're piloting version 1 next month with 3 offshore developers here in Ireland. And coming into, I guess, as Dylan mentioned, we are an example, at least right now, of a company that is in a slightly adjacent industry, and have technology that we see applicable to the aquaculture sector. So when we started, we were targeting offshore wind, because there's a lot of developing nature inclusive technology in that sector. But there's no geographical limitation to what we're doing, and it's not sector specific. So we want to explore how we can expand into international markets, which the Innovation Studio really helped us work through, and also how we can serve the aquaculture industry in time as well. So since Hatch, we started building a database specific to aquaculture. So once we pilot the software in terms of its functionality with the offshore wind developers, we then want to look to other sectors and pilot with aquaculture. So that's been our journey so far. And since finishing Hatch, it's been a very busy period. When we were on Hatch, I was full-time and we had a part-time employee, and now we're a team of 4, so 3 of us are full-time, and we still have 1 part-time employee. Since Hatch, we've also received state investment. We had private investment going in, and also EU level investment as well, and started a program with the European Space Agency to further develop our spatial planning function. And yeah, we've been hot on development. We hit a bit of a wall with our initial prototype. The code all had to be rewritten, and that's the joy of being a non-tech founder, which I've learned lots about over the last 6 months. But now a fantastic software development team and a CTO. So we've been flying the last few months. So we're really excited to get the software out and tested with our pilot customers next month. So I don't know if you want me to talk more specifics about the Innovation Studio now, Jess, or maybe hear about Dannel's.
No, I think thank you for that. That was so comprehensive. And I want to highlight what you just mentioned here. One of the challenges that we see with all, like in any marine sectors, but specifically in aquaculture, is that we might be aware of one technology and we might be wedded to that technology to a certain degree, right? Because we've known it, we've done it like this all the time. Why would we change? But it's the awareness of new innovation coming on and understanding how that new innovation could actually help a company be more efficient, reduce number of days that they're at sea, like the fish at sea, or like whatever it is to make a company more efficient. You have the tool available where you say, like, have you considered these different technologies that are new on the market? They're coming in new, they're nature inclusive, by default, then more enable more sustainability. And I think that's one of the key elements that is so cool about your business, but then also in terms of revolutionizing aquaculture, because we can all agree we can't continue business as usual. But with tools like Restore Blue offers, we can actually, there is a tangible output right away. So I just I am so in awe of all the work that you've put in the last year, and I know it hasn't been easy. And we'll get back to a few challenges coming into the studio and then working through it in the studio. But maybe we just introduce Dannel and Teal Marine Technologies. Maybe a bit of background here. I met Dannel about a year ago with Catherine Butler from BIM. We were in Phoenix. It was raining a lot, and I was introduced by MTU and by BIM to talk to Dannel. And Dannel had his iPad with him, and he showed me a few sketches on his iPad, and I was hooked. It was so cool to see his, like the the passion for it, but then having the visual part of like, this is what I really think could revolutionize aquaculture and seaweed development. So, Daniel, over to you. Tell us more about Teal Marine Technologies and how you've developed over the last few months.
Wow, yeah, thank you, Jessica. Yeah, it was, Jesus, yeah, it's only a year ago or so. And wow, yeah, big time since then. Yeah, Teal Marine Technologies, young company, as you know now, all about marine robotics and yeah, novel technologies. Yeah, I met Jessica. Yeah, she said a year ago. Geez, it's only a year. Yeah, we had some ideas, me and my co-founders, some ideas to. I mean, I have the engineering background. I moved to Ireland couple years ago, and Jess, you mentioned earlier the spirit, the startup spirit here in Ireland, and the support, which I learned pretty quick. The network between the BIM and Hatch and the MTU and many more. They are our great ambitions in Ireland, really for this marine space and marine tech, Aquatech. So yeah, I've no background in marine stuff, but I came to Ireland. I fell in love with the ocean, with the sea, with marine stuff, with everything about boats, between boats and aquaculture and all that. So yeah, I had some got my thinking cap on. Had some great ideas and started the whole journey. Which I've never thought I would do that again. But yeah, founded Teal Marine Technologies, and yeah, here a year later now, here we are. We just moved into our new workshop. And yeah, it says more than in 1,000 words. We are building some unmanned boats and robotic platforms, uh, building more robotic platforms there, building yeah, the rope rover, underwater monitoring platform. So yeah, this is the space where we really do everything in-house, from the engineering, yeah, from the idea to the engineering to the making of my lovely new machine here, to welding stuff, to program it. My colleague Killian is programming all this stuff, and yeah, we really make it happen, and that's the spirit of Teal Marine Technologies, to yeah, just get shit done. No, not just talking about it. Sketches on the iPad are good, but someone has to build things. So yeah, that's what we do. Working with a sustainable, recyclable material, plastic, which is yeah 100% recyclable. This is what we build the boats from, and many other boat equipment. Plus, yeah, electric propulsion systems on the boats and many more things like that. And so yeah, so I met Jessica. She told me about the Hatch Innovation Studio, and yeah, Dylan, you said it. There's no, you take no equity. It's just for free. And I was like, okay, what's the hook?
Where's the catch?
Yeah.
The catch,
Um,
I tell you what the catch is. I tell you what it is. I remember Daniel coming in. He has this idea of the rope rover, and maybe you want to talk about that in a minute. But
yeah.
he presented it on the first day to the studio, and like you do an introduction with the whole cohort. Um, I'm not putting you on the spot, Daniel. You're fine. And he showed us the entire development, and having the cohort there, all the other people, like everybody had input for you. And
Yeah.
the cool thing that I saw you do is you took that input, you said, okay, I hear you, I hear the challenges that you've been through, and let me work this out. Let me see how I can apply that to my technology. and then you just went away with it. Like I'm sure after the studio, you needed a bit of breathing time to really let it sit in. And then you came back and you said, all right, this is how we could change this. This is how we would adapt. And you went on and you got some funding from the Marine Institute, right?
Yes, yes, yes. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, yeah, and that's what I want to say. I was a bit curious. Okay, what's the catch? And fuck, there is no catch. Like it's really you should apply, man. Get into the program. It's fantastic. The network around BIM and Hatch is massive. So yeah, go for it. And yeah, so since the studio, yeah, we went from ideas on the iPad and some initial prototyping, which happened between my colleague's garage and my living room. Went to having the workshop, having employees, and saved some significant funding to make all these things happen. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Back to you, Jessica.
Yeah. It's so cool to see those developments. And I keep telling people because I get the question often, like, what is my role in the ecosystem, in the Irish ecosystem? And I say most of the time it's cheerleading. And it's so easy to cheerlead when you can see that they have everything they need to actually make the business happen, but they might just need that extra push of like, talk to this person, maybe talk to the, whoever it is, and then get that, get the cogs going and move the idea forward. All right, Sarah, when you came into the studio, there was one person you really wanted to meet, right? It was Bill Liao from SV Ventures and SOS Ventures, and he delivered a very powerful mentor session on listening and how do I put that? How to make business happen.
Hmm.
What's your takeaway from that, Sarah?
Yeah, I there was something that fascinated me about Bill. I mean, he's an eccentric character, and I'd been following him for some time. And I seen on the agenda that you had shared with us, Jess, the power of listening. I can't remember the exact title, and I thought it's something that's personal to me, and I thought, wow, this is going to be interesting. How do we work this in a business context? What can it do for us? Because it's a superpower in our kind of personal lives, but how do we make it a superpower in our profession, in a professional sense? So Bill was fantastic. I mean, his his ability to kind of relate to those in the room, and obviously he himself is a fantastic listener, but teaching us just that act of persuasion when we're in a sales meeting or when we're pitching to investors, and how powerful listening can be. And three things that he mentioned are the only things you need to do is just listen, ask, but then be silent. And sometimes the magic comes during that silence, and it's having the patience and the trust to feel a little uncomfortable in that space. And it was just on Tuesday that I was in meeting with a potential customer who were a global player, and it was a big meeting. And I decided to try and test out Bill's what he had taught us. And instead of just, as we often do, I guess it's, you're new in business, you're trying to prove yourself, build your credibility, you have something that's not fully validated in the market. So you're trying to give all the information you can at this potential customer instead of asking the questions that will really benefit you and them in terms of what do you really need? Do you see value in what we're doing? But yeah, I mean, it worked quite well, and I had to sit there in silence. And I guess they were even a little shocked that they were put on the spot with some very direct questions about, what value we can bring for them, and if this is something that they're willing to pay for, which wasn't really, I think, what they had intended to discuss in our first meeting. But it worked, and came away with three potential orders for sites in the UK and Norway. So there's still a journey there, but um, yeah, I think it's some of the sessions that Hatch have, they're not maybe the typical as you would expect. They're super focused. There's a lot of thought goes into the sessions that will support the companies and the power they can bring. So Bill is just an example, and I hope you guys have him back this year.
We're working on it.
Working on.
And I should mention, like each year, the studio is so different and it depends on the cohort, right? If we have a cohort coming in where we see most of the focus is on seaweed development and their solutions are focused and targeting that particular sector, then we will do our best to have the right mentors in the room that can help you in your development. Right. So it's very interesting to see all the applications coming in. And I know Dylan and myself are putting our heads together and going, which mentors do we think would be perfect for this person? Because we have you guys in mind when we designed the studio and we're very clear on like, okay, I think everybody could benefit from this person. And, it's just amazing to see. Daniel, I have a question for you. And then I see there is some questions in the chat. We get to that in a second. Uh, Maybe talk a bit about, and I mentioned it already, about, it can be quite overwhelming sitting in the room for 2 weeks, having all of the mentors talk to you, and then, it does take time to settle, doesn't it? Like to really take in and do your takeaways. Has there been any learnings over the last, like couple weeks or so that may have come on where you're like, oh, I remember this from the studio?
Absolutely, yeah. You're dead right. It is fucking overwhelming. Sitting there like a whole day, you don't actually don't leave the room, and like, you get a 5 minute break to have a coffee, and then they go on and they go on and on and on. And on. You have one meeting after the other, with so much good information. You're sitting there trying to, yeah, keep as much as possible and make notes and work through it, and then yeah, you do your homework, so you go home in the evening and think about all that and work your stuff out. It is a very, very intensive time. But it's a tricky one now for a learning, because to be honest, a lot of things you talked about in the studio, I was sitting there and I was like, oh, geez, what are they talking about? Jesus Christ, I've like really, as a young company founder and not a real businessman, let's say, it's tough stuff. But it yeah, and I couldn't even say there was one learning which I consciously took away. And sometimes I sit down and try to work through my notes and all that, and it's hopeless, because yeah, even my notes sometimes I'm like, okay, what was that? But it's not that I took anything away from it. It comes like from nowhere, from somewhere in the back of my brain. There are these days where I'm just before a meeting, or I'm just working away here on my machine, and then there comes this, it just pops up, and I say, geez, where's that coming from? Haven't they been talking about that in the studio? And it is something about, let it be marketing or my next presentation. I know I have to pitch something next week, and I'm working on this presentation. And yeah, for me, it really comes when I'm doing something else. For me, it's definitely working in the workshop here, welding something or so, and the knowledge comes back. So they managed, even though the 2 weeks were quite overwhelming, they managed to somehow bake the knowledge into my brain, that it magically comes up when I need it. And that is the fantastic thing about it. So yeah, it really was worth it, taking the time to be there, and yeah, sometimes really pull myself together and man, you just work through it. It is tough, but it was fucking worth it. It was so good. Especially the things I learned that how do I say this? The things I learned that I didn't knew I learned.
Yeah.
It is just there. This, and again, I said that earlier, the network is, I can't say that often enough. The network is incredible. I see Catherine is there in the attendees there. Hi, Catherine. Um, Catherine, Damien, all the BIM guys, the people from Hatch. It is incredible, really. Just keeping you guys posted and pinging over a challenge, an achievement, and they just do their magic, and you get a phone call, and yeah, the network just works. And as I learned, this is what it's all about, not
Yeah.
only in Ireland, but in the whole industry. And yeah, using that network was an incredible accelerator for the business. really make use out of the network. I probably only used like a fraction of what you Jessica would say, like, oh, you haven't really used our network yet. But I would say even what I have used out of your network, made, yeah, yeah,
And
incredible.
see, this is like I'm gonna stitch it onto a pillow. It's fucking worth it. That's amazing. That's a great testimonial. But I also think this is part of this relationship, right? Like I'm here for you guys, anything that you possibly need. And I keep emailing you guys and I keep telling you anything you need, just email me and we'll see and we'll help you. That's what we're here for. I know Dylan has been awfully quiet. There is a question for you in the chat. You mentioned a limit of 10 participants. Is that referring to individual or companies? That's one of them. They're asking
Hmm.
as part of a two-person founder team.
Hmm.
And would you just want to speak to that about like who we bring in and how?
Yeah, yeah, sure. First of all, 10 is our target, but there's flexibility there. And when we talk about 10 participants, we mean 10 teams. Um, but when we prefer that if there is a two-person founding team, we would always prefer that both of you join us and that we have both founders there. So yeah, when I said 10, that was 10 participating teams. But yeah, thanks for the question.
And maybe to add to that, we want both of you in there because each of you is going to take away something else. And then as a
Mhm.
team together, you're going to have these conversations that Daniel said is like, oh, do you remember this? And it will spark something for the both of you. So absolutely. I know we're running short on time. We only have 10 minutes-ish left. Sarah. One of the how is it? One of the key outputs that we have in the studio is always have an ask, right? So my next challenge for you is to tell me what you're up to in the next 6 to 12 months, and then maybe give us an ask for everybody attending and joining us online. And yeah,
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, so the next 6 months, at least for the rest of this year, we'll be piloting, as mentioned, the software, learning from the developers that are the end users, and then going straight to the next phase of development. So we have two more marked phases of development for the software. And we're hoping to achieve the second phase within this year, and then go to phase 3 early 2026. So aside from building the software, continuously updating our back-end data systems, we also want to grow the team and bring in more in-house specialist skills, and to achieve both of those targets in terms of team expansion and software development. We're fundraising at the minute for 500,000. So we've been quite active the last 2 months around that effort. It's not easy at the minute, so I don't know if it ever is easy, but that definitely presents its challenges. But we are hopeful and to secure 500,000 funding round by the end of this year, early 2026, to support. And we really hope that the pilot, what we learn from that, will just gain us more traction and put us forward on that path. So that is our ask at the minute. And in terms of ask, just to mention too, that I think is like you bring great speakers and have great sessions and Hatch, but all the way through, you're constantly working on your pitch. And I think all of us came out. It was amazing to see us. And you probably agree, Daniel, what we were like on day one and what we were like at the end of the 2 weeks, and how much our pitch was transformed and the way we presented. And Hatch really encourage you to, it's really about your messaging and the storytelling, which it should always be, but I think you can get very bogged down in the structure and content of a typical traditional pitch, and to think more about how to make your message as compelling as possible. That was something that Hatch really pushed us to do, and it was very successful, I believe, for all of us. So it's been put to good use since Hatch, that's for sure.
thank you, Sarah. Do you want to join us this year again?
Yes,
Love to have you on.
that's my interest. Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
Daniel, the same question for you. Like, what's next for you in the next 6 to 12 months, and what is your ask for us?
Wow, yeah, next 6 to 12 months, definitely continue developing that business. I am in that new workshop and I want to grow out of it as soon as possible. I want more people. I want to work more on all these projects. I'll give you a very, very brief overview. I know we don't have a lot of time, but we are really going into these two big R&D projects for a unmanned ready, autonomy ready, new next gen survey boat for the survey market. So new technology there, a good, tough, and rugged boat. Building that equipped with all the latest autonomy technology, and also having the project about the rope rover. You mentioned that earlier. A robotic solution for one-man operation to monitor waters long term, and take away all the pain and all the money that you have to put into an ROV. A very novel solution on the market. And with all these things we develop, plus the daily business of just building things and supporting people in their engineering and in their prototyping and in their making, this is what we do. And my ask is, if you are somewhere close to Cork, please pop in. We're in Skibbereen, and I'll show you around. I'll show you boats, and I have really cool stuff in that shelf there. You will love this. So if you get a chance, pop in, say hi. If you're not close, visit our website, tealtech.ie. Check that out. And either you are interested in technology, or you know someone who needs help. I am here. I am happy to talk to you or to whoever might need our help. Or just reach out to me, and make the contact. There might be, you might have ideas for sensors, for where to use the things. And maybe I can help you, maybe we can help you, with prototyping, with engineering, with developing, with cutting, making, welding, whatever. So yeah, my ask is reach out, say hi, and even if it's just a good 10 minutes chat, I love that. So yeah, looking forward to hearing from you or
Thank you,
seeing you here.
Daniel. Like, I actually met somebody yesterday that I want to introduce you to, so stay tuned for an email there.
Yes,
But I
please.
think just for in general for everybody on the call, like do reach out to any of us. Any questions you may have. We're all very happy to have conversations with you about anything really, but mostly it should be marine related. So just going to put that out there. Dylan, before we end, there's a couple questions for you. One of them is, what is the commitment to the studio days? Will we have time to
Hmm.
work on our personal workload? And then maybe also, can you give a bit more detail on what a strong application looks like?
Yeah, totally. Um, Maybe the easier question first is the commitment to the studio. So this studio is split up into two parts. We've got the first week, which is like virtual sessions, and then the second week, which is a full-time in-person 6-day program. When the program is on, you will be full-time busy all day. It'll be, 9 to 5, if not longer. And then, most people will be working on their presentations or working on the learnings, in the evening time. So, yeah, you won't have a lot of time to do personal workload, but as all early stage entrepreneurs have to do, you'll get it done. You'll work in the morning, you'll work late at the night, and that's kind of what needs to be done. So yeah, but full transparency, it's a full-time intense program, as I think Daniel and Sarah just spoke to. Um, on the application, I could talk for hours on what makes a good application or what doesn't make a good application, because I spend a lot of time looking at applications. Um, so I would say what we look for in an application, criteria-wise, like any early stage project, the team is more important than the technology. So we look for really high quality individuals, people like Daniel and Sarah that have deep knowledge and expertise, that we think we can help accelerate those people. So yeah, the team is number one. Um, and then I think what we look for is some level of traction. So we're not looking for like super early stage ideas. We want to see that you have developed this project to a certain degree where you're ready maybe to start talking to customers, to validating your problem. So we're looking for, innovative, interesting technology that is past idea stage, that there is an MVP, that we think we can then accelerate. Market fit or revenue and stuff is less important at this stage because hopefully that's where we can help you get to. That's what the value of this innovation studio can provide. Um, and yeah, I mean, other stuff like when you're writing your application, don't use a lot of words, and like more words doesn't mean better application. So be concise, be to the point. Um, all those kind of smaller things help a lot in an application. So just be aware of that as well. I've read a lot of nearly like PhD submissions just put in as applications, and yeah, it doesn't help. So yeah, I hope that's helpful, Jess.
That is, thank you. I might want to add to this. What fascinates me about working with you guys and working with Hatch Blue and with BIM is the absolute passion that people have, right? So that is what I'm looking for when I talk to you guys. It's like, do you have a passion for your project? Because I can't give you that passion. I can cheer you on, but that passion comes from within yourself. And when I see that you do, the rest of the things we can help you with, right? Because but your passion has to come from you, and we can help you with nearly everything else. I think. Hopefully, I'm not overselling this. All right, guys. I could talk to all of you for hours, and I hope you could too, but we're not going to do that. I'm gonna let you go. I thank you so much for joining us. For anyone who might have questions, just reach out to us. We're very accessible. So just email us, find us on LinkedIn, wherever else, send a smoke signal. We're here. And thank you, everyone. And I hope to see you all in person soon in Daniel's
Yeah.
workshop. That's where we will meet.
Come over, give me a
Thanks. Thank you so much, Daniel and Sarah, again. Appreciate your time. Yeah.
thank you very much.
Bye,
Okay,
Thank you,
guys.
best of
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye. Good luck. Bye.
luck.